In the heart of the Arabian desert where the sands whispered ancient secrets, a child was born in the year 570 CE. His name was Muhammad, a name that would one day echo across the ages. Born in Mecca, the city of the Kaaba, his arrival was anything but ordinary. His father, Abdullah, had passed away before his birth, leaving his mother, Amina, to cradle the future of humanity in her arms. The Kaaba, the sacred house built by Prophet Adam and later restored by Prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael, stood as a silent witness to the birth of this extraordinary child. But by the time of Muhammad's birth, the Kaaba had become a sanctuary for idols, its true purpose forgotten. The people of Mecca had turned away from the worship of one God, replacing it with the worship of stone and wood. Muhammad's birth was accompanied by signs that shook the heavens and the earth. On that fateful night, the idols in the Kaaba toppled over, as if bowing to the arrival of a greater power. In distant lands, the fires of Zoroastrian temples which had burned for 1,000 years were extinguished. The palaces of Persia trembled, and the Tigris River overflowed its banks. The world seemed to pause, as if acknowledging the arrival of a soul destined to change its course. Muhammad's early life was marked by loss. His mother Amina passed away when he was just 6 years old, leaving him an orphan. He was taken in by his grandfather, Abdul Muttalib, a man of great stature in Mecca. Abdul Muttalib was one of the few who still believed in the one true God, a belief he guarded in his heart amidst a sea of idolatry. When Abdul Muttalib passed away, Muhammad was entrusted to his uncle, Abu Talib. Under Abu Talib's care, Muhammad grew into a young man known for his honesty and integrity. He earned the title Al-Amin, the trustworthy. His character was like a beacon in a city darkened by greed and corruption. As a young man, Muhammad worked as a merchant, traveling with caravans to distant lands. It was during one such journey to Syria that a Christian monk named Bahira recognized the signs of prophethood in him. Bahira, a scholar of ancient scriptures, saw a cloud shielding Muhammad from the sun, and knew this was no ordinary boy. He warned Abu Talib to protect his nephew, for he was destined for greatness. Years later, Muhammad's reputation as a trustworthy merchant caught the attention of Khadijah, a wealthy widow known for her wisdom and virtue. She proposed marriage to him, and their union became a cornerstone of his life. Khadijah was not just his wife, she was his confidant, his supporter, and the first to believe in his divine mission. At the age of 40, Muhammad began to seek solitude in the cave of Hira on Mount Jabal al-Nur. It was here, during the month of Ramadan, that the angel Gabriel appeared to him with a command, "Read." Muhammad, who could not read, replied, "I cannot read." The angel repeated the command and then revealed the first verses of the Quran. Read in the name of your Lord who created man from a clinging clot. Read, and your Lord is the most generous who taught by the pen, taught man that which he knew not. Quran 96, 1-5. Trembling with awe, Muhammad returned home to Khadijah, who comforted him and affirmed his mission. From that moment, his life became a journey of spreading the message of monotheism, justice, and compassion. For 13 years, Muhammad preached the message of Islam in Mecca, calling people to abandon idol worship and embrace the worship of one God. But the Meccan elite, who profited from the pilgrimage trade centered around the idols, opposed him fiercely. They mocked him, persecuted his followers, and even plotted to kill him. Despite the hardships, Muhammad remained steadfast. His message began to resonate with the marginalized and the oppressed. Slaves, women, and the poor found hope in his teachings of equality and justice, but the opposition only grew stronger, culminating in a boycott against the Muslims, cutting them off from trade and social ties. In the midst of this turmoil, Muhammad experienced the Isra and Miraj, the night journey and ascension. One night, he was transported from Mecca to Jerusalem, where he led the previous prophets in prayer. From there, he ascended through the heavens, meeting prophets like Adam, Moses, and Jesus. He reached the Sidrat al-Muntaha, the Lote tree of the utmost boundary, where he experienced the divine presence in a way that transcended human understanding. This journey was not just a physical ascent, but a spiritual one, affirming Muhammad's role as the final messenger of God. As the persecution in Mecca became unbearable, Muhammad and his followers migrated to Medina, a city north of Mecca. This migration, known as the Hijra, marked the beginning of the Islamic calendar. In Medina, Muhammad established the first Muslim community, built a mosque, and drafted a constitution that ensured peace and cooperation among the diverse tribes, including Jews and pagans. The Meccans, however, did not leave the Muslims in peace. They launched several attacks leading to battles such as Badr, Uhud, and the Trench. Despite being outnumbered, the Muslims achieved significant victories which strengthened their position. Muhammad's leadership during these conflicts was marked by wisdom, compassion, and a commitment to justice. One of the most remarkable moments came in 630 CE, when Muhammad and his followers returned to Mecca. Instead of seeking revenge, he forgave his former enemies and declared a general amnesty. The Kaaba was cleansed of idols, and Mecca embraced Islam. In the years that followed, Muhammad continued to guide his community, receiving revelations that would later be compiled into the Quran. He delivered his farewell sermon on Mount Arafat, emphasizing equality, justice, and the sanctity of human life. He said, "All mankind is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor does a non-Arab have any superiority over an Arab. A white has no superiority over a black, nor does a black have any superiority over a white, except by piety and good action." In 632 CE, after a short illness, Muhammad passed away in Medina at the age of 63. His death left the Muslim community in profound grief, but his legacy endured. He had transformed Arabia from a land of tribal warfare and idolatry into a unified society based on faith, justice, and compassion. Muhammad's life remains a beacon of guidance for over 1 billion Muslims worldwide. His teachings on mercy, humility, and devotion to God continue to inspire people of all backgrounds. As the final prophet in a long line of messengers including Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, Muhammad completed the message of monotheism, leaving behind a timeless legacy of peace and submission to the will of Allah.